How's it going, guys? My name is Rinzler here, back again for another video, and I'm officially bringing back the Yay Nay or Okay series, and I'm planning on doing one of these every week, so let me know in the comments down below if you're happy to see the series returned, and leave me some recommendations. Starting with this week's Yay Nay or Okay, I'm actually going to be doing all the MCU movies, and it's unlikely I'm going to be doing anything but the MCU movies for 20 to 23 weeks, but I still appreciate recommendations, and if I haven't seen the movie you've listed, then I might not review it for even longer than that. So I'm sorry if I can't review everything you guys want me to review. I got a plan in mind for now, but I'm not sure when I can get to any other things. So for now, it's just going to be MCU stuff. I was considering reviewing Avengers Endgame since I saw it on Saturday. Today is Monday at the time I'm recording this. I saw Endgame on Saturday, and I was considering doing a review on Endgame because it's still fresh in my head. But then I realized I kind of make better reviews when time passes, and I can think about movies a little bit more. So I'm going to start from the beginning, which is Iron Man 1, which was made in which was released, I should say, in May 2008. Next week I'll do The Incredible Hulk, and then so on and so forth until I get to Spider-Man Far From Home, because by the time I get to the end of this series, Far From Home will have come out, and I'll probably seen it by that point. So the last episode of the MCU binge Yay Nay or Okay series is going to be Far From Home, as far as I know. But of course that's assuming, because Spider-Man Far From Home kind of comes out at an awkward time. I'm going to be not in school anymore. I'm graduating in just 28 school days. It's pretty crazy. And I'm going to be busy trying to find my first job around the time Spider-Man Far From Home comes out, so I don't know if I'm going to have time to go see it or not. It depends on what the hours of my first job are like. But until then, I promise I will keep making consistent reviews as much as I can. I got a schedule. I'm going to be doing one gaming video, one Yay Nay or Okay, one KBW career video, and one A Song of Ice and Fire character origins video. I got those last two mixed up. Tomorrow or the next day, I'm going to try to do the Aesop character origins video for Brienne of Tarth. And then the day after, or on Friday, I think, I'm going to do the Cage. I'm going to make a video on KBW's Cage. And then I'm planning on doing another WWE video on Friday, and then that'll be my shtick. I'll do like a video every other day after this Friday. This week I'm just trying to get stuff done. It's my first week back from spring break. It's my first week back to being a full-time YouTuber. So I'm just testing the waters. Let me get to the review. I'm rambling on. I just wanted to let you guys know that that's what's going on. So I'm going to make one episode of each series per week. So it'll probably take me forever to finish this MCU stuff. Because, there's 22, 23 movies in the MCU now. It'll probably be like 24 by the time that this series starts to come to an end. So that's 23 weeks of MCU reviews. I might be doing this the rest of the year. I have no idea. But this is what I'm going to be doing for a while, but I'd still appreciate recommendations in the comments down below or on the channel discussion page. So, Iron Man. It was directed by Jon Favreau, and it came out in May 2008, 1 month ahead of The Incredible Hulk. It should be well known at this point that this was before Marvel Studios was owned by Disney. This was when Marvel had created its own movie company, Marvel Studios, because before this, superhero movies under Marvel's umbrella weren't really considered profitable, and it was really hit or miss with Marvel movies until about the late 90s when Blade came out, and Blade kind of popularized Marvel in cinema, because then after Blade came X-Men and then Spider-Man. And, then they did Punisher and Ghost Rider and the crappy Daredevil and Elektra movies. It was all that stuff until about 2008 when Marvel decided to try their best to retake as much of their comic book properties back as they could and make those movies on their own. So the first time they tried this was with Iron Man, and you can tell that this is a lot more faithful to the comic books than a lot of previous Marvel movies, because this is actually being made by Marvel, not somebody else. So Iron Man is a story of Tony Stark, who's this playboy billionaire who is the son of a genius, a genius inventor named Howard Stark. And he kind of just, his shtick is that he is rich and he pisses people off with his sarcastic sense of humor. He has an assistant named Pepper Potts who is not his love interest, but there's so much tension between them that it's obvious that there's something going on, even if there's nothing actually official. He has a habit of bringing girls back to his big mansion, in Malibu, California. Anyway, so he has to go to the Middle East, I believe Afghanistan, to present the U.S. military with his latest weapon, because that's what his company does. He owns Stark Industries, and Stark Industries is a weapons manufacturer that was made by his father during, World War II, and after his father died, he took over the company. So now he's making weapons, and he's just as big of a genius, if not more so, than his dad Howard was. And he's trying to kind of form his own identity a little bit. He likes to have fun, but he likes to also get stuff done right. So he makes this weapon called the Jericho missile, and the Jericho missile is super cool and powerful. It's like a missile that splits off into a bunch of smaller missiles when it comes down. And anyway, after he demonstrates it, the U.S. military is obviously pretty impressed with the Jericho, and they want Stark Industries to start mass producing for them. But then on the way back to the airport, he ends up being attacked by the 10 Rings, which is this group of terrorists who want to steal Stark Industries, weapons and use it against the United States. That's basically their plan. So they kidnap Tony Stark and they put him in this cave. But the initial ambush on Tony and the entire group he was with actually causes a bomb explodes near Tony and the shrapnel goes into his heart and nearly kills him. But this guy named Yinsen, he's this scientist who is also imprisoned to be Tony's assistant. He actually manages to save Tony's life by hooking his heart up to a car battery, which actually prevents the shrapnel from getting all the way to his heart, which is pretty ingenious. Anyway, the 10 Rings, after Tony Stark wakes up, they tell him that they want him to make the Jericho missile. He refuses. They start torturing him till he finally says he's going to build it, but instead he uses the materials that they give him to build himself a mini arc reactor, which is basically this energy producing machine or whatever. There's a giant version of it at the Stark Industries building in America, but he makes a smaller version for himself to prevent the shrapnel from getting to his heart. And then he uses the rest of the materials to build this giant iron suit, the first Iron Man suit, Mark I, which he uses to break free of his imprisonment, though Yinsen dies in the process because he's protecting Tony. This sticks with Tony, and when he gets back to the United States after escaping, he vows that Stark Industries will not make any more weapons. But his partner, Obadiah Stane, isn't exactly happy about this, because that's what Stark Industries has always been known for, is making weapons. So he's not exactly thrilled with Tony's new direction, and it's actually revealed that he's the villain of this movie, that he was the one who had Tony kidnapped by the 10 Rings, and that he's sort of working together with them. But now that he hears how Tony escaped, he's really interested in that mini arc reactor because he knows how much of a fortune he can make off of it. So basically, Tony's butting heads with Obadiah, subtly anyway, and he's also testing out more and more Iron Man suits. He's making more Iron Man suits. He recognizes Mark I was a bit of a one-time thing because it fell apart after he used it the first time. So now he's doing it again, and he's building more suits, and they're getting, bigger and better, and he's using these suits to stop crime. So the public labels him Iron Man at the end of the movie, even though his suit's not made of iron. It's a really weird thing. And yeah, basically throughout the movie, he's testing out his Iron Man suits, and he and his assistant Pepper are slowly uncovering Obadiah Stane's relationship with the Ten Rings. Obadiah is obsessed with getting an arc reactor so he can make his own Ironmonger suit. And, it's this big thing. He actually steals the arc reactor from Tony's chest and he nearly dies near the end of the movie. And so they have this big battle at the end. Obadiah, just so you know, he betrays the Ten Rings and kills most of them after they recover the remains of the Mark I suit. And he uses the remains to build a new suit. Then he steals the arc reactor from Tony Stark because his own employees don't know how he did it. They're like, it's impossible to make this. And Obadiah's like, what do you mean? He built this in a cave with scraps. And the guy's just like, I'm not Tony Stark. What do you want me to do? Anyway, so he goes to Tony Stark. He steals his arc reactor out of his chest. He nearly dies. But he's saved by his best friend, Rhodey, who gives him a new who gives him his old arc reactor and helps him put it into his chest. Because Tony actually makes a couple of arc reactors. The first one wasn't very good, so he replaced it, but now he needs the first one to survive temporarily. Then he saves Pepper from Ironmonger, and then meanwhile in the background there's this company called SHIELD. I forgot what it stands for. It's this long thing, and they're trying to keep tabs on all the Iron Man stuff, and they're kind of failing. But anyway, they try to tell Tony, don't come out as a superhero, we have this alibi for you. But the press obviously doesn't believe his made-up story, so he stands up confident, he's like, I am Iron Man. I'm Iron Man. And that's how the movie ends. And that's not how the movie ends. Because then there's a post-credits scene, and Nick Fury is in his Malibu mansion, and he wants to talk to him about the Avengers Initiative. That's how they build up the eventual Avengers movie that would occur 4 years later in 2012 and break all kinds of box office records and really set the bar for how far superhero team-up movies could go. So, but it all had to start here, and Iron Man 1 is actually a really good movie. It still holds up really well despite being 11 years old at the time of making this video. I can still pop this movie in, and it still amazes me how well done it is. Considering CGI was not as good as it is now. I mean, it's only about a decade older, but believe me, there's a lot of difference between 2008 CGI and 2019 CGI. And 2008 CGI Iron Man actually holds up really well to the modern day Iron Man. This movie looks really good. There's no bad CGI that I can recall. It's just a really good flick that I think is a great way to introduce people to the MCU as a whole. It's a very grounded and personal and witty and entertaining and action-packed way to begin such a mammoth franchise that the MCU would become in later years. And it all has to come down to the charm of Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. This kind of coupled with his real-life, problems. And, Tony Stark also has his own, controversial past in the movie universe. So he has to go through a redemption story as Iron Man the movie, but this was also one of Robert Downey Jr.'s first good movies in a long time. So it was like a big redeeming thing for both the character and the actor, which I thought was really cool. Obadiah Stane is not a particularly memorable villain per se, but besides that, I think he's a pretty alright villain. I wish he has that personal connection with Tony because he was running the company until Tony came of age, and he was all best friends with Tony's father Howard and has been there since Tony was born. So there's a little bit of a personal connection there. A better personal connection than we would get in the future Iron Man movies, which I'll talk about in later Yay, Nay, or Okays. Pepper Potts as Iron Man's love interest. I think she's introduced really well. Their chemistry is very slow burning. As I mentioned, you can tell in the beginning that something is going to happen with them, but nothing has yet. And the way they build up their relationship is really well done. It doesn't feel fast or forced. And Tony Stark's redemption storyline, becoming Iron Man after being a weapons manufacturer, he recognizes that his weapons are going into the wrong hands, and he's the Ten Rings leader. or not the leader, one of the Ten Rings guys. He praises Tony. He's like, he like says that he's like one of the biggest destructors of mankind, or like the most dangerous man alive, or something like that. And, you know, Tony sees the Ten Rings using all his weapons to do all these vicious terrorist attacks to all these poor families in the Middle East. And he's sickened by it. And after Yinsen in particular dies so that Tony can live, and, you know, Tony remembers all those U.S. military soldiers that were killed in the initial ambush, you know, that led to his imprisonment. It humbles Tony Stark. So Tony just goes to this big redemption storyline, and it's a really well executed one at that. And it's really hard not to like Tony Stark in this movie because he's so witty and entertaining from the first minute he's on screen. He's amazing with his combat, and his redemption storyline is really good. And his chemistry with Pepper Potts is fantastic, as I mentioned. Very well built up, and none of their scenes feel forced or cringe-inducing. They're just really good, well-built scenes, and I really enjoy watching them together. And it can be debated about whether or not they stay consistent as a couple. They kind of go down a little bit in quality in Iron Man 2, and then they go back up again a little in Iron Man 3, but they're not as good as they were in Iron Man 1. I would argue that their relationship doesn't really start to feel good again until Avengers Endgame, but I'll talk about that more in my Endgame review in like 23 weeks from now. So the CGI is great, the main character is great, the love interest is great, the villain is okay, he's not really great, but he's better than most of the Phase 1 villains ended up being. And as I mentioned, the action is really, really good. There's a lot of cool scenes, like the scene where he's first saving people's lives. He flies to the Middle East and saves this village from being terrorized by the Ten Rings. It's just a really satisfying moment where he saves the father of this young boy from being shot right in front of him. He stops that from happening, and it's a really good moment. You know, and I think that was a perfect way to introduce Iron Man to the world, you know? And I just love this movie. When I first watched this movie, when it first came out, I was only like 6 or 7, and I wasn't really into it at first. I thought it was kind of boring. I remember being even less into The Incredible Hulk, but I'm still kind of like that with Incredible Hulk. But Iron Man has improved as I've gotten older in my eyes. So I was too young to appreciate it then, but I'm older now. I'm almost 18 now, and I love Iron Man now. It's one of the MCU's most strongest outings, and it still holds up really well today. And it would kick off this mammoth franchise. It would be the first, you know, arc. It would be the beginning of Tony Stark's amazing character arc. No pun intended, because arc reactor. And it was just a really great story. So, wait, I forgot to talk about Rhodey. How did I not talk about Rhodey? I'm sorry. So Rhodey is Iron Man's best friend in the movie. He doesn't become War Machine until Iron Man 2. And in this movie, he's not actually played by Don Cheadle. He's played by a different guy. And in my opinion, this guy is actually kind of more funny. I wish they managed to keep him around, but I guess they didn't have the money to rehire him, so they replaced him in Iron Man 2. He was alright. Don Cheadle. I know a lot of people love Don Cheadle as War Machine, but I'm a little bit more mixed on him. I think he could have been... the character would have been even better if they kept the guy from the first one. But besides that, I think he was really solid in this movie. As I mentioned, I really like this version of Rhodey more than the Don Cheadle one. So Rhodey was really perfect in this movie, even if he wasn't War Machine yet. I feel like if they tried to introduce War Machine in this movie, it would feel a little too overcracked, because this needed to be Iron Man's origin. War Machine needed to wait. Just like, if you're going to do a Batman movie, you can't have Robin in it. You know, you have to do a Batman movie with just Batman, and then get Robin in later. Which they did in Batman Forever. Like, they had Batman by himself for the first two, and then they introduced Robin in the third in Batman Forever. So it was smart of them to keep the War Machine Rhodey out of this movie, in my opinion, because they needed to build up the good chemistry between Tony Stark and Rhodey, and they did a really good job in this one, in my opinion. So the romance is good, the villain is better than most of the villains Marvel had put out for a while, would be putting out, I should say, not because they hadn't made any movies before that. I mean, villains after this, Obadiah Stane was more solid of a villain than most of the villains that came after this, besides Loki. And the romance was great, Rhodey was great, Iron Man, it was especially great, and his redemption story was really, really touching. And the action and CGI still hold up really well. And it also has a really badass rock soundtrack. So there's really something to like for everybody. It's the perfect way to introduce your family to the MCU. It's not overly violent, it's not too gritty, and it's not, there's no swearing a lot. So it's really the perfect way to introduce somebody to the MCU, and I'm going to give Iron Man 1 a yay. Now, thank you guys for watching this my first yay, nay, or okay back from me quitting and then coming back. I know I probably should have done this first, but I really wanted to do that KBW video, and I really wanted to do that 2K19 video, and then I wanted to do this. So look out tomorrow or the day after. I'm going to do my first ASOF character origins video after my return. Because I made one for Jamie Lannister a few months back. I'm going to do another one for Brienne of Tarth either tomorrow or the next day, depending on how busy I am. So I'm trying to stay on top of my grades in the next month and a half before I graduate. So if I can't upload too much, then please understand it's nothing personal. It's just I'm trying to, I'm trying to get everything done before I graduate. And yeah, that's basically all I need to do here today, so that was kind of an awkward send-off. I'm going to do better. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Be sure to leave this video a thumbs up, comment down below. Remember to leave some of those recommendations, and to check out all the other videos that me and Brother Bear have made on this channel together. He's a wonderful, wonderful entertainer. He's probably a better gamer than I'm ever going to be. So please watch Brother Bear's videos and go to his channel and subscribe to him. And just have a really lovely day. Hope the weather's nice where you are. And I will see all you dudes and chicks in the next video.